The rain was coming down in heavy sheets, drenching the earth and turning the grand lawns of the Whitmore estate into slick patches of mud. The mansion itself stood tall and intimidating, its cream-colored walls and tall windows glowing faintly against the stormy sky. It was a place of wealth, of privilege, of a life most people could only dream of. But in front of that very mansion, beneath the shadow of a giant oak tree, an elderly couple sat slumped together in the rain, their clothes soaked, their hair plastered to their faces, their weary eyes closed in exhaustion. They had nothing left but each other, and even that seemed fragile under the relentless downpour. And that was when Alexander Whitmore, the millionaire who owned the estate, stepped out of his sleek black sedan. He froze mid-step, his polished shoes splashing in the puddled driveway as his gaze locked onto the scene before him. His heart jolted in shock. This was not something he expected to find outside his home of wealth and luxury. An elderly man and woman, fragile with age, worn down by life, collapsed in the rain, an old suitcase spilling open at their side with faded photographs and tattered letters sliding into the wet grass. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the power of compassion to change the world, please take a moment right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support spreads these stories of hope even further. Alexander couldn't move at first. For all his fortune, he had never been confronted so directly with the raw image of human struggle. The elderly man, his face streaked with dirt and lined with years of hardship, leaned against the tree as if it were the only thing holding him upright. The woman, her dress clinging to her frail frame, rested her head on his shoulder, her lips slightly parted as though she no longer had the strength to speak. Their hands were still intertwined, even as the rain battered them mercilessly. The storm around him seemed to fade as Alexander's thoughts raced. Who were they? Why were they here, of all places? He noticed the suitcase again, its contents like whispers from another life. A black and white photograph of the couple in their youth, smiling and full of hope. A stack of letters, edges curled and worn, perhaps love notes or records of a family long gone. And a threadbare blanket, damp and useless now, a poor shield against the cold rain. It struck him hard, these were people who had once dreamed, once built a life, just like anyone else. And now they had been reduced to this. Alexander had always prided himself on being self-made. He built his empire from the ground up, carving his path through sharp deals, relentless work, and an iron will. But with that drive had come a certain hardness, a habit of looking past suffering if it didn't touch him directly. Yet here, suffering wasn't across town, or in a newspaper article, or on a television screen. It was sitting on his front lawn, so close he could see the raindrops dripping from their trembling hands. The memories of his own past stirred within him. He had once known hunger too, though he had buried those days deep beneath layers of success and wealth. He remembered his mother working long nights, his father collapsing after long shifts, the way his family had nearly broken under the weight of poverty. And he realized, in a flash of painful clarity, that this couple could have been his parents had fate dealt them another hand. As the rain fell harder, Alexander finally moved forward, his expensive suit soaking through. He crouched beside the couple, his voice breaking as he called out to them. The elderly man stirred faintly, his eyes blinking open in confusion. The woman's grip on his hand tightened, as though she feared losing him. They were exhausted, drenched, and starving, and it was clear they had been walking far longer than their frail bodies could bear. Alexander motioned urgently for his staff to bring blankets and warm drinks, his once pristine driveway now becoming the site of a rescue. He carefully helped them to their feet, his strong arms supporting their fragile frames. Every step toward the mansion felt like a heavy declaration that no matter how far he had come, his wealth meant nothing if he could not use it to lift others up. Inside the warm glow of the mansion, the couple slowly came back to life. The woman's name was Martha, and the man's was Henry. They had lost their small home after falling behind on payments. With nowhere else to go, they had wandered in the rain, carrying with them only the suitcase filled with memories of the family they had once raised, the children who had long since moved far away and never looked back. They had been walking aimlessly, searching for shelter, when their bodies finally gave out in front of Alexander's estate. As Alexander listened, his chest tightened. He thought of his own estranged brother, whom he had not spoken to in years after a bitter dispute over their parents' inheritance. He thought of the times he had chosen business deals over family gatherings, wealth over compassion. And he realized that Henry and Martha's story wasn't just about misfortune, it was a warning of what could happen when bonds of love and care were neglected. For the next several days, Alexander ensured the couple had everything they needed. Doctors came to check on their health. Fresh clothes and warm meals replaced the soaked rags and hunger. And slowly, as their strength returned, so did their dignity. Martha smiled more often, her tired eyes shining with gratitude. Henry, though frail, found his voice steady again as he spoke of the days when he had been strong enough to provide for his family. But it wasn't just Henry and Martha who were changing. It was Alexander too. Each time he saw them, he felt the layers of his hardened heart peeling away. He began to spend less time in his office and more time with them, listening to their stories, learning from their years of resilience. And in their presence, he rediscovered something he had lost long ago, the value of compassion over ambition, of human connection over material gain. The day finally came when Henry and Martha were well enough to move into a modest little cottage Alexander had purchased for them not far from his mansion. It was simple, but it was theirs, a place of safety, warmth, and